Howdy, Mark Serbu, gun designer, gun nut. So are you ready for the conclusion? Pistol powder. Somebody loaded pistol powder into a rifle case, and probably a shitload of it. Yeah, I feel dumb that it's been dragged out this long, but a couple caveats here. First of all, I didn't mean to drag it out. It's just that I always wanted to make this giant video that told about everything, and I could never get it done because I'm a really busy guy. And of course, my bad, mea culpa, that's Latin for my bad, on the whole fail-safe thing. I was thinking fail-proof, and I just got it in my head, oh, you got to make it, but I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but fail-safe, yes, completely different from something that's impossible to fail, and that's something I'll get into here also. I got to thank my buddy, my Swedish brother from another mother over there, and his channel name is pronounced, here you go, Hagebenke. But his name is Henrik, and thanks to Henrik, I went back and looked at all my old interior ballistics programs, and holy crap, it's one of those things, you look at interior ballistics to try to get some of the basic parameters for your design, but at a certain point you go, okay, we're not going to care about anything beyond this. It's just like when you're a civil engineer and you're designing a drainage system, and I've talked about this before, you design for the 100-year flood. You don't design for the 1,000-year flood. Because if you do that, you're going to have this giant system, incredibly expensive, nobody can afford it, and you're just not going to do it. And with a gun, yeah, I could have designed it to take 200,000 PSI all the time, but you couldn't lift it. It would cost 5 times as much, and in the end, it could still blow up, because it's like the greater idiot theory. You make something idiot-proof, and some idiot will come along who's even more idiotic and ruin everything you've done. And the same thing here. You design something to take 200,000, someone will put around in there that gets 210,000. Okay, so what I've got here, this is a screenshot from Quick Load, which is a really nice interior ballistics program. Kind of got this mostly figured out. Mostly. So what you see here, this is a normal, normal graph of 50 BMG with, as you can see here, the Hodgdon 50 BMG powder, 245 grains, 650 grain bullet, and 45-inch barrels. So this is like the standard Ma Deuce. And if you look at this red line here, this trace, it's really nice and gradual. And the peak pressure happens just over 0.6 milliseconds, which, yeah, it's pretty damn fast, but in this world, it's not really that fast. This is not an explosion. This is how gunpowder works. Nice gradual build up to peak pressure, and then you're still producing pressure. You still have almost 10,000 psi as the bullet's leaving the barrel. So it's a nice gradual push of the round getting out of there, and it reaches the expected muzzle velocity, just over 3,000 feet per second. Okay, now here I'm doing an analysis of the slap round in Quick Load. The powder's not quite right. I can't find the WC860, so we have to fake it. It's a little bit different number of grains than you see on the mil spec here, but we still get the same results. 55,000 PSI. So yeah, to get that with the Hodgdon powder, you got to put 6.2 more grains in it, whoopee. But, again, we're going for the pressure, and we're looking at the curve here. We're looking at the trend. We don't care about absolute accuracy of the model here. Bottom line is that we get our 55,000 PSI, we get our lighter projectile. And that's the whole point of this. They use the same exact pressure they use in the ball round, but with the lighter projector, it goes way faster. Now, the reason for the friction proofing is because it's a plastic case around the bullet. Hell of a lot easier to push that through the barrel. That's normally what you check off in Quick Load when you're using like moly-coated bullets or something. Same thing for plastic. You definitely get lower pressures when the bullet can move through the barrel easier. That just makes sense. Now note how the slap round hits peak pressure a little bit quicker than the ball round. Just under 0.5 milliseconds here, as you can see on the graph. And again, nice gradual decay in pressure. 45-inch Ma Deuce barrel. Muzzle pressure is right around 7,300 PSI. All right, now here's a look at the potential killer charge. One of many possible ones, actually. This uses Vitavori N310, which I'd never heard of, but my buddy Henrik was going over this, and he used this in his example for Scott's accident. I'm actually a little low on the grains here, 245 instead of 282. Just imagine how much worse it would be. And, 36-inch barrel, 360 grain projectile. The most notable thing about this powder charge in this graph is that
you see the peak there. Well, first of all, it's freaking 400,000 psi basically. Also, there's a line here that we haven't seen before, and that's the all burnt line. And notice the peak pressure. Instead of happening at like 0.6 milliseconds or so, this happens at like 0.04 milliseconds. Insanely quick. And then it's all over by 0.04 something. So that burn is complete. Whereas normally this graph goes out to 2 milliseconds at the end of the barrel. This is going out to just barely, not even a millisecond, 0.7 milliseconds. That's just insane. And that's how that stuff is. That's why it's so dangerous and it's so catastrophic. Now I'm switching over to the famous Alliant Bullseye. Everything else is the same except, I went to the actual specified grains now, 282 grains. Same barrel length, same projectile mass and all that. The big difference? Insane peak pressure. 452,000 psi. My God. Now here I'm zooming in on the graph for that one, and there's the all burnt line that we were talking about. Now this is unusual because you don't normally, well, with rifle powder, you don't normally see 95% burn, peak pressure, and all burnt like right there, almost the same line. Like a couple of those lines are basically on top of each other. That's the peak pressure line. That's why this is made for pistols. You got a short little barrel. You got to get your pressure up there fast. The bullet's not in the barrel very long. Obviously, it's catastrophic for a rifle, especially when you've got 282 grains of it. Now, here's some interesting stuff that I don't know if reloaders actually use this. So if you guys are hardcore reloaders, you let me know in the comments. Do you guys actually look at the energy density of the gunpowder? I mean, as an engineer, this stuff's interesting, but as a gun designer, we don't even use this stuff. We use pressures and times, and we don't look at all these little esoteric, crazy little numbers in this column. But if you're a hardcore reloader and you actually look at this stuff, let me know. Now, as you can see, this hydrogen powder has just over 4,000 kilojoules per kilogram. And then we go to this faster burning pistol powder, and it's almost 4,200 kilojoules per kilogram. Yes, I know I'm using metric, sorry. Ugh. Now we go to Bullseye, and it's over 5,000, which, it's 20%-ish higher, which isn't insignificant, but it's not blow your gun to smithereens significant. So where am I going with all this? Hopefully what all you engineers already knew, and now the rest of you are going to know, the area under this curve here is energy. And that's pretty interesting. And the main thing about it is you see now that these gunpowders have a specific energy, 4,000 kilojoules per kilogram, 5,000, whatever. The point is that energy is what's available for a given amount of powder. So what makes the difference is how quickly that energy is delivered. That's all the difference in the world, actually.
All right, let's look at this from like a mechanic, layman's type perspective. You don't have to worry about math, physics, engineering, all that stuff. So let's say we've got a watermelon. You want to lift a watermelon from somewhere down here around your waist, and you're going to lift it up over your head. And you're going to lift that watermelon over, let's say, 3 seconds. Okay, so you're moving a mass through a distance. You're exerting a force over a distance, and that equals work. Well, now once we do that work over time, that's energy. So you have a certain amount of energy required to get the watermelon from your waist over your head. And like I said, we do it in 3 seconds. That's a given amount of energy. Now, let's say we want to put that up to over our head in 1 second. Well, now the energy, we're keeping the same amount of energy. So what do we have to do to keep that energy the same? We're lifting a lot faster, so what does that take? That takes a lot more force. Because lifting it up nice and easy, 3 seconds, no big deal. But a second is going to take more. Now, what if we want to go to 1/10 of a second? Now we really have to exert a lot of force. Okay, and at some point, you're going to have to go fast enough where the watermelon's just not going to be able to take it. It's just going to explode because the skin just isn't strong enough. Now that's what is happening with the gunpowder. All those different gunpowders, if we look at the kilojoules per kilogram, we've got that energy available from a given amount of gunpowder. But in the pistol powder, we saw the curve, we saw the spike very quickly, and that's how you get that energy area under the curve. You can either have it so you've got this nice long and nice slope up and slope back down. You've got a bunch of area over that long time there, but you don't have a big huge peak. But now the way to get the equivalent energy, the same amount of powder, the same mass of powder, same kilojoules per kilogram roughly. Now if you have a super high spike, then it has to happen over a shorter time.
Sorry, logically it's actually the other way around. the powder burns more quickly, so for the given amount of energy available, it has to burn at a much higher pressure.
And that's why that stuff is so destructive, so catastrophic to the gun. And we'll get some guys, some of these super smarty nerdy engineers talk about adiabatic shear bands and stuff, but I think the watermelon analogy is perfectly good. I mean, anybody can understand that. Okay, well, if you have to get a watermelon from one point to another, and if you're using the same amount of energy, if you decrease the time, you got to increase the force. It helps to know the math on it, but you don't have to know the math on it. So, make sense?
All right, now here's the part I've been waiting for. Energy density. Now look at that right off the bat. What has the highest energy density of anything? Antimatter. And that's why you got to worry about that antimatter grenade. And look at that. It's basically 90 petajoules per kilogram of energy. That is just so huge. It's funny because people start to know about the peta prefix now because that's where we're going with data storage. So, the NSA's got to record everything you've done your entire life. That shit just won't fit on a floppy anymore. This is pretty fascinating stuff if you're a nerd like me. It mostly covers chemical reactions, explosives, whatever, but of course there's some of this nuclear stuff up here. And here's one that's completely unrelated. Specific orbital energy of low Earth orbit. Well, that's interesting, but it's not like it's something you're going to harness and stick in your gun. Now what we really care about on here is the stuff down here, TNT. C4 is not shown, but it's 18% more powerful as far as energy density. Nitroglycerin, all kinds of fun stuff here. What's really, really interesting to note, especially for you Project Eldest Son folks, is look at the energy density here. It's pretty much the same as the gunpowder. That's crazy and unexpected. And you wonder, well, how the hell does high explosive do what it does? Well, you know how it does it? Here, we'll take a look. Flashing back to the Vitivory and bullseye pressure curves, you see these things have huge spikes in pressure. One of them reached peak pressure in like 0.04 milliseconds. The other one reached it in 0.14 milliseconds. Very fast, but now look what a high explosive does. Here you'll notice the time is in microseconds, not milliseconds. So it's 1,000 times faster. And look at the pressure rise. It's pretty much vertical. So back to the watermelon analogy. Instead of just pushing that thing up from your waist over your head and you got 3 seconds to do it, now you got 0.1 microseconds to do it, or 0.1 millionths of a second. How much force do you think you'd have to put into the watermelon to do that? And you think it would stay together? Well, that's how explosives work. So does that mean the Project Eldest Son folks are right? Did Scott get a hold of a military spiked round that meant to blow up the enemy? I tend to think the Occam's razor route, which says that some numbnuts just put the wrong powder in there. And as far as the slap round goes, was it the slap round that did it? It made it so that there was a possibility of putting 40 more grains of powder in there, so that's something. And of course, just the fact that it was such an expensive round on the secondary market made it a ripe target for counterfeit, so that's another thing. But otherwise, being a slap round in general, I would say
no, that is incidental.
Well, folks, that's about it. This video is running too long as it is anyway. I've got more coming up in a future video, and we'll definitely touch on failsafe. And something that I'm surprised that pretty much everyone missed. The RN50 actually does have a couple of really good failsafes on it, and nobody's commented on it yet. So for homework and a challenge to you gun nerds, let me know what you think about potential safety features, potential failsafes that are on the gun already that obviously were overridden by a giant freaking powder charge. Well, hey, I really appreciate you all as usual, especially if you commented on the last video. Holy crap, 3,000 comments and counting. Probably half of them saying how I was wrong about fail-safe versus fail-proof. But hey, whatever. I'd much prefer that than to have people blow smoke up my ass. I mean, I'm here to, I know a lot, but I could always learn more, and I hate being wrong. So, hey, if you've seen that I've made a mistake somewhere, feel free to correct me. Oh, and by the way, check out, I've got a link in the description. I did a live stream with Henrik, and we had Edwin on there. We had Royal Nunsuch. You know how you guys always love him and miss him. And we even had Jazz Booty on there for a bit. So I'm going to have a link to that live stream video. And that was pretty fun. We're going to have to do that again soon. Take care. Catch you next time.